my name is Lily, and in the last year I have lost 40 pounds, cut out almost all unnecessarily processed foods. I have come off of medicated stimulants and begun to come off of SSRIs, or antidepressants. So let's talk about it. So starting with what I feel was the easiest one to accomplish was coming off of medicated stimulants. I was on Concerta, and I was taking it nearly every day for ADHD. And the biggest difference I noticed with that was when I was eating properly and didn't have any additional caffeine, I did feel like I was in less of a rush to do things, if that makes sense. But I did decide to come off of it because I was still regularly consuming an absurd amount of caffeine, so it kind of counteracted what the idea of the Concerta was for. So I did just stop taking that, and there's no like withdrawal symptoms for that, so I didn't necessarily have to go through anything like that. Next was cutting out ultra processed foods. And so this was actually more of a long-term thing. It's definitely a lifestyle change because you do get cravings, and those cravings are based off what your body is used to consuming. So it started with, I just wouldn't buy like anything that had unnatural food dyes. And so a lot of my snacks were no longer like Doritos. It was like fig bars or like granola bars from clean brands. And then it turned into, okay, well, I don't want sugar-free Jell-O because there's artificial flavors in there, so let's cut out artificial flavors. Sugar-free Jell-O was actually the last thing to go, specifically, because it was so easy to meal prep with it, whereas now I have adjusted my palate to not crave things at sweet anymore. The most consistent craving I have is cinnamon rolls. And honestly, when I tried a fast food cinnamon roll recently, it was like really gross. It like felt fake. What I have enjoyed when I get that craving, I have this Kodiak cinnamon roll mix, and I put before have put what I really enjoy now in place of that is this Kodiak muffin cinnamon roll mix. It's actually really good. If I really want the icing, which I don't always, just to make it like a little wetter, I mix powdered sugar and water or powdered sugar and milk and just dump that over it after I cook it. And that's really easy because you just microwave it. Next, losing 40 pounds. That was definitely, again, another lifestyle change, which cutting out the artificial foods definitely helped because then you have to put more thought into your snacks. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to grab this 300 calorie little pastry that I just have, because I didn't buy those little pastries anymore because I was avoiding those type of overly sugary and ultra processed snacks. Instead, it turned into, okay, how hungry am I, or am I bored? Am I gonna go through making a little edible cookie dough with the stuff I already have with clean ingredients, which I had done a few times and ended up being good. And in the long run, that ends up being less calories. The biggest thing for losing the weight was tracking how many calories I already began with. Because like you look at someone and you say, okay, you're this height, you should be eating this amount of calories. That doesn't always work. I'm 5 foot and was eating almost 3,000 calories a day. Now at 5 foot, 120 pounds roughly, I eat roughly 1,600 calories. That's a significant difference. And so I didn't just jump down to 1,600 calories, otherwise I would have been starving. It started with, okay, switch my sugary coffee creamer to like Alani's in Celsius I was drinking for a while, which I stopped having those because I don't really understand what they are, if that makes sense. I'll have them every now and then, but for the most part I try to do coffees or like lattes. I don't know. Oh, and working out consistently was definitely a major thing in it. I was lucky that my husband already works out regularly, so all I had to do was go with him. He was already pretty strict on his own routine, so it was kind of easy to just make it a part of my routine. Now, coming off of SSRIs or antidepressants is a little more difficult. I wasn't on too high of a dose, so it wasn't as long as some people say it takes to come off of them. I was specifically on Zoloft, and it's a 20-day process to come off of the dose I was on. 10 days of taking a half dose, and then 10 days of taking said half dose every other day. So I'm currently on the 10 days of every other day, so I'm almost completely off of it. But even then, it's not completely out of your system because it takes 2 to 3 weeks for your brain to kind of find its own natural balance, whatever that may be. So far, I have had a headache nearly constantly for the past 3 days. The first day of not taking it, so coming off of the 10 days of a half pill, I had a lot of nausea and dizziness and honestly put myself to bed at like 6 p.m. and didn't wake up until like 6 a.m. the next day. So that was a little rough. But now it's kind of like just a moderate headache, some dizziness in the afternoon. I don't really know why, some dizziness in the afternoon, but everything that I'm reading about says that that should go away at most 2-3 weeks. All of my symptoms should be like cleared up, but it's expected to have some kind of withdrawal symptoms for a few days. So I was taking Zoloft, actually not as an antidepressant, but as a general anxiety disorder medication, because I have generalized anxiety. And that definitely made a huge difference in everything I did. There was like some lifestyle things where I was just like, I don't need to be freaked out. I don't need to be worried about that. I don't need to be thinking about that. If you have anxiety, you kind of will understand. If not, then, it's just generally less stress. So coming off of it, I'm a little nervous, but I'm in a very privileged position right now to where if something does happen, like my anxiety does peak, I'm in a position where I can take a step back and kind of reflect and use some coping skills. I actually decided to come off of it because I felt like I was doing so good, and I'm like, I'm doing so good, I'm not having to utilize any of the coping skills I learned. Okay, well then why did I learn those coping skills? And also I don't want to be on this SSRI long term because I was doing some research into it, and being on SSRIs long term, like, almost permanently alters your brain chemistry, and in the sense that, like, you will eventually crave or need more and more of a dose to make up for that feeling you had in the beginning, because your brain adjusts to the new medication. Hence why people who are on it long term end up with 3 different combinations, 3 different dosages. And I never wanted to be on it long term. So I was like, okay, I'm now in a position where I feel like I have the ability and the time to address coming off of it. So I did. Yeah, so this page is going to be like a general health page. I'm going to just kind of talk about how I'm maintaining losing 40 pounds or maintaining the loss of. I don't want to gain it all back. How I'm avoiding some ultra processed foods, how I cope with cravings, and maybe a little bit about mental health. I haven't decided. I just know that coming off of SSRIs have definitely affected, I'm sure will affect, some of my gym routines. So we'll see if it comes up. Bye guys.